I'm out front of Steve Spottiswood's office. I set my phone to record and stick it in my shirt pocket, allowing the camera lens to peek out. I want to make sure I record all of this so I don't miss a word. His assistant leads me into his office. It's a pretty big one compared to the other offices around him. He sits behind a desk cluttered with papers and mail. He's an average white guy in his 60s and kinda looks like actor Ted Danson, but with a soft, possibly southern voice. Behind him are bookshelves with dusty youth baseball trophies and an obsolete encyclopedia book set. His jacket haphazardly hangs on a sconce. He types and rudely ignores me, not even acknowledging my presence until he strikes his last period key. He turns and asks what he can do for me. I explain who I am and inquire about the house. I sense apprehension on his part, but a moment later, it seems that he realizes it's been over 10 years and it no longer matters. So why not be forthcoming? He reminds me how bad the economy was back in 2007. He owned the house and no one could afford the rent. Along came a guy, Joshua Juarez, who had cash. So what if he was illegal? His sister lived nearby and ran a catering business. She was willing to employ him and they all seemed like nice people. He tells me he spoke to the sister after the incident, and between his conversations with the police and what he knew of Mr. Juarez, he put together that Juarez's eldest daughter had killed her little brother back in Mexico. Mr. Juarez fled with his wife and 2 daughters to the United States and got work as a cook with his sister. Mr. Spottiswood assures me he knew none of this when he rented the house to Joshua Juarez. He goes on to explain that Joshua shot his wife, then hung himself off the deck. He said the eldest daughter disappeared and the youngest went to live with her aunts. I ask if the mother was shot in the kneecaps. He looks at me strangely, like he's wondering why I ask such an odd question. He finally replies, "No, no one ever mentioned that." I've scoured the internet trying to find something on Joshua Juarez. Spottiswood told me I wouldn't be able to dig anything up. He said that it never made the news. They were so busy reporting on falling stocks and golden parachutes that no one cared about an immigrant murder-suicide. I remember back then, he's right about the news. You couldn't get away from the collapse. Still, I search, and I'm surprised at how common a name Joshua Juarez is here in the United States. The week has been uneventful. Deanna is still in a slump. She refuses to sleep in our waterbed. Instead, she crashes on my office couch or the living room couch. I've been staying awake all night, occupying the same room as her to make sure she's okay. I sleep during the day while she works. It's been exhausting. Tonight is an editor event with demonstrations I want to see and some contacts I should connect with. Plus, I really need to get out of the house. I arranged for Amy to come by after work at 8 p.m. I need to leave at 7 p.m., so Deanna only has to spend an hour alone. I sync the security cameras with my phone. This way, I can monitor Deanna while I'm out. If something happens, I'll have Bill from next door pop over while I rush home. I'm ready to leave, but I can't find Deanna anywhere. I call out for her, but get no answer. I check our bedroom and find the dog sleeping. I head to the front door and call out again. I hear something at the end of the hall. I cautiously approach. I think back to following Bill's whisper and wonder if my mind is playing tricks on me. I stop at the end of the hall. "Hon, Deanna, are you trying to scare me?" I ask as I look towards Deanna's office. I flick the light on and peer into the game room. I hear the noise again. It must be Deanna in her office. I wander into her room, peeking into my office as I pass. Again, I call for her. Dead silence. I mean dead, like no air conditioner, no refrigerator hum, just silence. I give up. She must be messing with me. I walk back to the foyer calling out, "Alright, well, wherever you are, I shouldn't be too late. I love you." Then I head outside. I turn to shut the door and I'm startled by Deanna. She's pointing the gun at my head. I immediately grab for the pistol and tackle her into the foyer. We struggle, and the gun discharges. I manage to pull it away from her and scurry back into the hall. She cries, "You won't let her. You won't let her." "You want me to shoot you?" I yell angrily. No, I don't know. "You won't let her, and she needs me." "Who? What? God damn it, what the hell is wrong with you?" Deanna falls silent, stiffens, then rises to her feet in a very creepy, ethereal way. Her arms and fingers outstretched like before, but this time she expels a long, guttural yell. I stare in complete shock. I'm terrified at what is happening. The yell is deep, like an animal cry. So deep and bassy, I can feel its vibrations in my chest. Suddenly, without warning, she collapses like all her muscles gave way into a pile of bones. She lays there lifeless. I stare at her from a few feet away, afraid. I wait for her to gasp for air, but she doesn't move. She lies still. My heart sinks, then shatters into pure anger as I see what's wearing that damn cross. The moment drags on. She's not showing any signs of breathing. The shards of my heart begin to weep. I put the gun down and reach for her. I nudge her again. She breathes, but is completely unresponsive. I grab my phone to call emergency. I remember not wanting to deal with their questions. I shout, "My wife is unconscious, send an ambulance." I toss the phone down and yell, "I'm running for water in the kitchen." I realize I'm holding the gun. Where'd it come from? Did I pick it back up? I stash the gun in the pen drawer, then grab at the dog's water bowl and race back to Deanna. I splash her in the face, but she doesn't respond. I yell my address into the phone. As I grab for the clicker to open the front gate, I cry. It's that loud, moaning, painful cry that wounded animals make. All at once, time seems to be stagnant and rapid. I remember holding her, wondering, when will help ever arrive? But looking back, time skipped a heartbeat to place me at her hospital bedside. I stay at her side for 3 days. She hasn't woken up at all. Our parents spend a lot of time here as well. They bring me clothes and comfort food. Her parents move our dogs to their house so I don't have to worry about them. Deanna will kill me if the pups are neglected. Deanna is in a big room. There are 2 beds, but no one occupies the second. Sometimes I nap on that one. Most nurses don't seem to mind, but whenever one seems irked, I tell them how we're high school sweethearts and haven't been apart for 30 years. That softens them up. No one can give me answers. The doctors attribute this as a reaction to her sleeping pills. They can't find anything else in her toxicology and have nothing else to offer. They check her brain activity and all is functioning. They just want to wait and monitor. The word coma is both used and avoided. There is talk of a feeding tube, but that has ramifications of its own. I panic, but I'm reassured that she doesn't yet display all the signs of a coma. They tell me to just wait. This morning, they moved a roommate in with us. I no longer have a bed to sleep on. Yesterday, the nurses began harping on me to go home. I stayed, but all day they kept telling me to go get rest and they would take care of Deanna. Today, a nurse hinted, "You can go home and shower." Do I need a shower? Everyone needs a shower. Is this because of her roommates? Well, it is a shared room, and we need to be considerate of others. I eye her name tag, Jamie. She has childish flower stickers around her name. I decide I don't like Jamie. As visiting hours near an end, Jamie comes to me with backup, a bigger male nurse. She firmly tells me to go home and get rest. I kiss Deanna goodnight and leave. My fear is they kick me out because Deanna isn't ever going to get better. The thought of that, even as I write this, chokes me up. I get home and park the car. On my way into the house, I hear something come from the pool. A growl? It's a deep sound, deeper than a coyote. I turn on the camera light and follow the noise. I approach the pool area. The pool light glows from under the solar covers. Everything appears peaceful. The noise is gone. Just before I turn back, there's another voice. This one sounds like a shovel scrape coming from the dry river. I make my way to the hilltop and look down. The area is empty except for Deanna's half-dug holes and the broken shovel. I had broken our shovel to prevent Deanna from digging. Maybe I'm delusional. Maybe I have an ethereal connection, but for some reason, I climb down to the bottom and sit on a dirt mound above a hole. This seems like the right place to be. I survey Deanna's handiwork and consider all that has happened. I feel weak, limp, and exhausted. My chest swells as pressure builds in my head, then I burst into tears. Deanna's parents are at the hospital. They insist I stay home and rest. They'll call if anything changes. I'm reluctant, but I agree. Selfishly, I just want to be alone, but that makes me feel bad. I drive over to pick up the dogs, and on my way, Tom calls. He asks all the usual questions. At some point, I express concern over having the gun. He says he'll swing by to get it out of my house. When he arrives, I hand over the pistol. Tom scans the dining room, then declares there's nothing in this house. He preaches that I should call Heather, his spiritual friend. A medium? I exclaim. Ah, more of a small... You're judgmental. He texts me her number. Tom is a stand-up comedian. Because of that, I can't always gauge when he's messing with me or being serious. He seems serious and insists that Heather can help. Before I can refute him, he takes the cross off his neck and gives it to me for protection. He tells me it belonged to his father, and I'll disrespect him if I don't wear the cross. I spend the next few hours lost. I try to play with the pups. I try to watch TV. I try to lie down. I briefly consider looking at the footage, but it's too soon. I'm going crazy. I end up calling Heather. On one hand, I think this medium stuff is bonkers. On the other hand, I really don't have any answers to anything, so what do I have to lose? There is the possibility Heather is a comedian friend of Tom's, and this is his way of pranking me to get my mind off Deanna. That is just the kind of thing Tom would do. So, just in case, I have my phone at the ready to record my conversation with Heather. I figure it'll either be an amusing diversion or I'll get some answers. I answer the door and Heather blows past me, barging into the dining room. Something awful happened here. Your wife is in mortal danger, she announces. She turns and proceeds to the master bedroom. I follow her. Your house is not haunted, it's your wife. She squats to the floor. Her hand grazes the carpet. It happened here. She took her last breath. Actually, it happened in the living room, I quip. She glares at me. There is death in many rooms in this house. She exits the bedroom in a hurry. I chase her into the dining room. She scans the room in the same fashion as Tom. Lying on the table is Christina's Bible. It's been there for a few days. Heather gingerly touches the book. Her fingers caress the cover. Then she snaps the Bible up. A moment later, her chest lunges, as if pulled towards the end of the hall. She holds up the Bible like she is about to give a sermon. Under my breath, I quietly utter, "This chick is crazy." She preaches. It doesn't matter what you believe, demons are real. There is a heaven and a hell. She does a 180 and beelines right into my face. I back up. Mr. Roca, do you love your wife? Of course. Would you do anything for her? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Then why don't you help her? I am, that's why you're here. Don't turn your back on God. The answers you seek are in this book. You just have to dig. She thrusts the Bible at me, then exits. She is gone. I plop down on the living room couch to thumb through the Bible. The chapter Joshua is bookmarked. I take a closer look at the actual bookmark. It's a business card. I examine it. The card is for Tex-Mex catering for all occasions. I call Christina and she answers cheerfully as ever. I ask her to come over to walk the dogs. I half expect rejection based on our last encounter, but instead, she sounds excited at the prospect. I put the card back into the Bible. At this point, I really consider the oddity that the card was placed holding the book of Joshua. I set the Bible on the dining room table next to the puzzle box containing the portate cross. Christina arrives about 20 minutes later. I show her the Bible and ask if it's hers. She nods. I show her the Tex-Mex card. She joyfully claims it as her aunt and uncle's. Huh? Her aunt owns a catering company? I hold up the puzzle box, expecting to finally get answers, but she has clearly never seen it before. I slide the box open and remove the portate cross. Her eyes widen and her voice swells. Where did you get that? You know what this is? She lunges at me and grabs the cross. I pull it away. We're in a tug of war over it. She swings and hits my arm. She attacks with a vengeance. Give it. I need it. It's mine. No, no, no. She exclaims as she keeps punching. I back away as she forges forward. The chain breaks free of her grasp and I manage to back a few steps away. She turns and runs out the door. She sobs, repeating the words, I'm telling. The idea pops in my mind like the flare of a light bulb just before it burns out. I call Michael and ask him to come over to help me dig. Heather said, you just have to dig. Deanna was digging. I think I need to dig, but I ain't doing this alone. Michael lives a few minutes away, and he must have dropped what he was doing because he seems to arrive before I hang up. It dawns on me that I broke our shovel. I'll also need one for Michael. We make a quick trip to Lowe's to pick up a couple. On the way, I fill him in on all the details. He isn't as judgmental as I expected. Not that Michael is judgmental, but there are some far-fetched facts. We get back and start digging. Our pattern around the hill is random. We don't have a plan. Deanna had dug a few shallow holes, so we somehow figure that we should also be digging shallow holes. We dig for hours but find nothing. At one point, Michael notices Tom's cross around my neck. I started wearing it after Christina's attack. Michael suggests that maybe I should be wearing the portate cross instead. He surmises that it might be a talisman, a portal key. That sounds crazy, but he asked me if Deanna wore the cross when she did all that stuff. Why hadn't I considered this? I went into the house to retrieve the portate cross from Michael in tow. He is recording on his phone. He says he wants to capture the moment that I spontaneously combust. I take off Tom's father's cross, and with a bit of reluctance, I clasp the portate cross around my neck. I don't know what I expected, but nothing happens. Michael says it's very anticlimactic. Back out on the hill, we survey the holes in an attempt to come up with a strategy. At first I'm thinking that we need to dig deeper. Then eureka, it hits me. Where did the gardener land? Michael points. We start attacking that spot. This hole is easy to dig. The dirt here might not be as compacted as elsewhere, or maybe this is where we're supposed to dig. It's still a challenge. It's late, we're tired, and even soft dirt digging is hard work. After about 2 feet, my shovel strikes something with a thunk. It isn't a rock. It sounds metallic. I poke the shovel at it a few more times. It's definitely metal. Michael whips out his camera phone and flips on the video light. I try to get a better look. Our hole goes down 2 feet. At the bottom there seems to be a cavern that juts off to the side of the hole, almost like a downward L shape into a tunnel at the bottom. The video light occasionally catches a golden glint inside the cavern. It's too deep to reach in. I'd have to lay flat on the dirt for that. Instead, I step into the hole and bend over to reach past my foot into the tunnel. I feel a pointy object. I struggle to get my fingers around it. It feels like a pointed dome. It reminds me of one of those old German helmets with a spike on top. I strain to get my grip around the spike and pull, but there isn't much to grip onto. I don't want to dig more. I just want it out. I try again, struggling to reach in further. I feel the spike budge a bit. I strain more to get a better grip. I think the dome part is lodged into a rock. I sweep some dirt and try again. The spike wiggles some more. I push and pull till it finally breaks completely free and I'm able to get it out of the hole. It's an 18-inch tall brass vase with the lid. It takes a moment for me to realize it is not a vase, it's an urn. I suggest we call the cops, Michael retorts, and tell them what? Hey, we're 2 guys digging in the yard at 2 a.m. and we found a vase. Run that through your head. How's that gonna sound? But what if it's... I stop to look it over. Eagerly, Michael urges, let's just open it. With a deep breath, I grasp the lid and turn. It breaks free. I slowly unscrew the dome to reveal the contents. Inside are ash and bone fragments, Michael shouts. Why'd you do that? Frightened, I fall back, almost losing the urn. We both laugh it off, the tension. I screw the lid back on where my phone vibrates. A call at this time of night can't be good. I set the urn down and pull the phone from my pocket. Quickly I answer, hello? Vince? A female voice asks. I mistake her for Deanna. I want it to be Deanna. Han? Is my hurried response. The woman chuckles. No, but Mrs. Roca is awake. Now I realize it's Nurse Jamie's voice. I ascend the hill in a flash. I jump in my car and immediately head to the hospital, leaving Michael alone with the urn. I've spent the last 3 months hanging out with Deanna. Every moment I can get, I spend with her. She was totally back to her old self within a few days. She went back to work the following week. She wanted to return that Friday, but we all insisted she rest for the week. 4 days of sleep can take a toll on the body. While she's at work, I've been combing through all the footage in an attempt to assemble it into a cohesive movie. I've been trying to compose music and add effects to emphasize certain aspects of the footage. It's coming along well, but it's taking a long time, especially considering I completely drop everything when Deanna is home. This past week, I took a break from the footage to focus on this written account. This seemed easier to finish before we leave for a week in Florida to fulfill Deanna's dream of swimming with manatees. Some quick updates. The portrait cross is trapped in the puzzle box, which is locked in a safe and is never worn. I gave the urn to the police. 2 officers came out to investigate the hole, but they laughed when I told them about the portrait cross. They said they would take the urn and see if forensics could get DNA from the ashes, but apparently that's very difficult. We haven't seen Christina since October. I told the police about her. I also recounted the story of the people who lived here and gave the cops the business card. I explained that I think Christina might be their daughter. A few weeks before Christmas, I spoke to one of the cops. They haven't gotten anything from the urn. They did get some prints from the inside of it, but haven't been able to match those. He said I could have the urn back or I could leave it with them. I said I'd get back to him on that. He did pull up the murder-suicide from 2007. He confirmed the woman was shot in the kneecaps. He also spoke with Mrs. Hernandez. She and her husband owned the Tex-Mex catering company. She confirmed that Joshua Juarez was her brother. She said he had one daughter, Marisol, but she thinks they sent her back to Mexico before the murder-suicide. She denied ever having a nephew and claimed Christina was her daughter, but that she was currently visiting family in Mexico. I think Mrs. Hernandez is telling a half-truth. I believe Marisol killed her little brother in Mexico, then the family fled to the U.S. The mother was distraught, so she killed, burned, and buried Marisol in our backyard. Joshua was angry over the killing of his daughter, so he shot the mother and hung himself near the grave out back. Christina was probably at her aunt's at the time, and Mrs. Hernandez protected the little girl from it all. I have no explanation for the portrait cross. I was able to finally compile the footage into a movie.